Okay, good morning. So we're up to new Zimun, Kuf Tzadi Hey, Chabur She'oichlin Bahar B'Mekaymus. So you've got groups of people eating in different places, how that works in respect of Zimun. Says the Mechaber, Shtei Chaburos She'oichlos B'Bayis Echad. You've got two groups of people eating in one house, or b'shnei batim, or in two houses. Im miksason roim eiros elu, if some can see the others, one group can see the other group, mitzdarfos lezimun, that joins together for zimun purposes. V'im lav einon mitzdarfos, and if they can't see each other, then they're not mitzdarf. V'im yesh sham shamash echad l'shteihen hu mitzarfon. If there is one person who is serving both of the groups, that shamas can be mitzarf the two groups. But that is only if they intended these groups to sort of come together, even though they're eating separately, but they want in some fashion to be mitzvah for Zimun. V'yesh mi she'omer, she'im rishus harabim mafsekes ben shnei abatim, einon mitzvahim b'shum inyan. That if there's a rishus harabim in between, it's not going to help you. Says the Mishnah Berurah, roin elu, afilu k'she'oichlin kol achas al shulchan b'fnei atzmai, even if they're eating on their own table, so long as they can see each other, that would help. So he's got an interesting ha'ara in number one. He says, what if there's a glass, like a fence or something, between them? So he says, I'm not sure what that is. When there's some sort of tzoya which will prevent saying Krishma, having it on the other side of a glass barrier is okay. It's never nechsheves lekisui, and therefore huadin in zimun hazuchuch is nechshev lehefsek, and therefore over here it will be considered a hefsek, and maybe that's a problem. Aydil makivin sheroyim ze'ezer riyosim mitzvah. On the other hand, since it's glass, you can see through, and then if it would work. And his maskon rishim it's starfin that it does work. That even though there may be a sort of a glass barrier between them, they can nevertheless be mitzvah for zimun purposes. So long, because lemaisa they can see each other. So long as the glass is not preventing them from hearing each other. In the beginning of Kuf Tzadi Hey, the first footnote in Kuf Tzadi Hey. So then he says, interestingly, Chaim mistapik b'davar, that when you've got glass in between these two groups, they can be mitzdarf for zimun purposes, but not for three, but not for 10, because it doesn't. You can't be somech on this to say the Shem Hashem. Okay, all right, let's leave that there. Carrying on the Mishnah Berurah, base, if cotton base, mitzdarfis lezimun. Rotzoloma. Im yirtzu yichoyin mitzdarf lohitzi echad es kulam birchas hamazon. If they want to, they can join together for zimun, and even one can be with each other for birchas hamazon. V'im lav. But if these two groups, you got a group of, let's say, one person over there and two people over there, then im lav, if they can't see each other, afilu b'bayis echad, even if they're in one house, afilu nichnasu b'tchila das litzdarf yachad. If they can't see each other, then you can't join them together for a zimun. But if there is, however, a shamish, some sort of butler, someone who's helping and serving, even though he's not eating at all, he can help them join together. Now, a couple of interesting things. Look at footnote number 2. He says, he doesn't actually have to be serving the food. Even if it's just the dvarim hachrechim could go in melach leberchas hamoitzi sakin. He's giving knives or forks or salt. That will join the two groups together if you've got one person who's serving the two. Well, what if you've got a child, or what if you've got a woman who's not going to help with zimun purposes? Could that help be a shamash in terms of joining the groups together? So he says in number 3, well, the Indian isha cotton shegil lechinuch hameshamshim es shtei hachaburas mitzad reish lavram loima she'afal pishem einam mitzdarfin lezimun. Even though they're not going to help in terms of giving you numbers for zimun, mikol makom mitzdarfin heim es shtei hachaburas, but they can join the two groups together. So that's very interesting. And fine. So now there's a mitzvah about it. So you've got, for example, a group of, let's say, one person over there, and you've got a common person serving them. Then that could join them together to give you a zimun. Okay. Good. Sif cotton hay. Hu mitzarfon. Afilu heim b'shnei batim. Even if it's in two houses. Ve'in roin elu es elu. Uchegoyin shenichnesu. Mistimus hamacha b'mashma. Ta'afilu bayis echad roin ze gam kein lo mitzarfi shtei chaburus yachad. Elim kein kshenichnesu mitchil al da ze. Avol harbe achreinim kosu. To bebayis echad lo bo inen klal she konsu mitchil al da ze. Others say no, that if it's one house, you don't need an initial kavana that they join together. So long as they can see each other, that they may not be able to see each other, but you've got one shamash who's joining them to, he's sort of the middleman, he's the link. If that's enough to join them together. Okay, and then we said, but so long as there is not a Rishus Harabim Mafsekes, because if you've got one group over here, another group on the other side, and you've got a Rishus Harabim, then that is Mafsek, you can't join them together. And says the Mishnah Berurah, Sifkat Zayin, quoting the Taz, Kosovo Taz, Lav Dafka Rishus Harabim Mamish, Shurach of Tezayin Amas. It doesn't have to be a technical Rishus Harabim. Duadin Kashesh Shvil Hayochid Mafsek Ben time. Even if it's any form of road, that will be Mafsek. Ve'ef Shadafka Kashu Kavua Gam B'Mosag Geshomim. As long as it's a proper road, that even in winter time, it still functions as a road. B'shum inyan, that was going on the end. Einom mistar from b'shum inyan. Afilu kashein roen zeh v'yei shamash shamash eshten. If there's a road between them, you may be able to see each other on the other side of the road, or even if there's a shamash who's serving both, but a road is going to be mafsik, is going to break up the possibility of zimun. Okay, good. Sif base. Ochlu miksosen bebayis or miksosen chutz lebayis. You got some eating inside, some outside. Imam mevarich yoshev ala miftan abayis hu mitzarfan. If you got the mevarich who's sitting on the threshold in between, that is mitzarf them. You have a similar thing, just by the way. I remember once davening in a minyan where we discussed this in Hilchos Minyan, Hilchos Tefillah, that you've got it was a certain lunchtime business minyan. I once davened there, and you had a few people in one room and a few people in another room, but you could not get 10 people in each room. So what the psak was that they got is that the chazan stands on the threshold between the two, and he is mitzaref them. So you got the same thing over here with the zimun. If you've got some in one area, some in another, and if you've got in one house, another house, and you've got the mevorich sitting in the middle, he can be mitzaref them. Okay, miftan abayis do roya elu elu v'havelu kumiksosen roya zeh zeh. So he's your middleman. He's linking the two. Gimel says the mechaben Gimel kol heichashem mitzarefus shtei chaburos. If whenever you're joining groups to make a zimun, both groups have got to be able to hear the mevarich, bebirchas zimun beveyor properly. Says the Ramah, so they hear the zimun and then each one goes and does benching themselves. But if you want the mazamin to be moitzi all of them in birchas hamazon, then strichim sheishmu kol birchas hamazon to below ze lo yasu klabs. If they don't hear it and he's being moitzi them, then it doesn't help. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Kotan Yud birchas zimun ein lekam b'simun reish seif beis to das hamachaba to bebirchas zimun hu nevarich. That's what he's got to say. Uvadas harama the dafka ad gemar birchas hazon. We're going to get there, Mr. Shem. How much do you have to listen? Is it just saying Rabbi Sai Navarich and Baruch Shechal Mishalai? Or according to the Ramah, it's actually the mezamein has got to finish the end of the first bracha, which is what we are nohig. According to the Ramah, you say Rabbi Sai Navarich and then you finish the first bracha. V'chol zeh gam kein rak b'makom hatzorech. Aval lechatchila yoseh nochen sheyishmu kol birchas hamazon v'pi hamavarich. Preferably they should hear everything from the mevarich. V'hu yitziyim b'chol birchas hamazon. V'ayin le'el siman kuf pei gimel siv zayin b'mishnah Berurah sham. B'beyur, they got to hear it clearly. But dievdim lo yishama divra mezamin shama nevarich rak shama lo'inim sho'inim baruch shechal mishalai muta gam kein lanus imoyim b'yachad. That's quite an interesting and important halacha. That sometimes you come to the table and you didn't quite catch Rabbi Sai Nevarich, but you hear everyone else's response. That's okay. That's enough. So, and they should not only listen, but they should also have kavana that they're being yotze from the person who's being mevarich. Okay, that's the end of Kuf Tzadi Vav. Kuf Tzadi Hey.